Happy New Year, folks. I hope you had many goodies and dined your teens and tweens. A new year means a new review, and with the poll I did around November, it's time to review Zack Wiki, the quest for Barbaros' treasure for the Nintendo Wii. My first experience with this game was around its release, and watching my oldest brother play through it, but I've never actually played it until recently. It's also been around 10 years since this game came out in Europe. So with that information out of the way, grab your bottle of rum and enjoy the review. The game stars as Zack, a chocoholic pirate, and his magic monkey Wiki, who dream of being the greatest pirates of all time. One day their plane gets ambushed by the rival gang, the Rosewatch Pirates, led by Captain Rose. The duo manage to survive the plane crash and land on an uncharted island. They then discover the legendary pirate Barbaros, who promises to grant them his legendary ship and the mystical treasure island if they manage to get all of his missing body parts. The goal is similar to most pirate stories, as becoming the best and richest pirate of all the seas, and works well with the game. The story isn't as grand as most point-and-click adventure games, but the characters are really enjoyable and are written well. Zack is the only main character who doesn't have any dialogue boxes. Instead, he expresses himself with many emotes, similar to Mario in the RPG games. He is a character who is easy to understand, and you know how he feels in any situation the story puts him in. Wiki does act like the normal monkey character, snarky and cocky, as seen in the beginning of the game. As Zack is about to fall to his doom, Wiki basically says, "You're about to make quite a splat," while he's able to fly. Captain Rose is your typical Ozu character found in many anime and in Capcom's own Tronbon, but is amusing enough. My personal favourite character is Johnny Style, who is the ace pirate of Zack's group and helps the duo with hints. He acts cool but is a total coward. Overall, the game has a wonderful cast of characters. I personally love pirates, even from a young age, from Muppet's Treasure Island and One Piece, so this game got my attention and the development team nailed the pirate aesthetics. You have your jungle, ice and fire levels that are quite common in many games, but feel right at home here. The jungle level has probably been one of my favourites, just for the matter of making you feel like an adventurer. For example, being in the level The Pit of Tragedy, where you have to be careful of booby traps, and the future growling goblins, where you must infiltrate and steal a chest from a tribe of goblins while having their ceremony. The music is composed by Shinya Okada and Tadayoshi Makino, known for their work on the Monster Hunter series, which uses a lot of tribal and environmental music. While I've dabbled in some of the games, the music really blends well with the world, and in Zack Wiki, this is no exception. Mentioned in the level the Flute of the Growling Goblins again, the inclusion of the flute and the bundles really create a peaceful vibe, as it makes you think that this music exists in the real world, with the goblins dancing around. The intro theme is the most memorable score from this game, and is a good way of setting the mood for the game. I wouldn't really listen to this soundtrack outside of the game, but it really works well with the scenarios. The characters are full of life, and honestly my favourite part of the game. Zack has some unique idle animations, from eating a chocolate bar around the game menu, and in the ice castle levels, where he shivers and sneezes. It's so adorable. In most video games, there is really only a few death animations, but Zack dies in a ton of ways depending on where he is in the level and seeing some of them really put a smile on my face. Here's just a few of them. Zack Wiki is a point-and-click game, where the goal of each mission is to grab the treasure chest by solving puzzles using only the Wiimote. The Wiimote overall is used as a cursor to move Zack around the stage and to interact with various objects. Zack interacts with objects in different ways, such as twisting a key, turning a lever, and sawing a tree down in half. There are multiple ways using the Wiimote, which is fascinating, but sometimes the controls are very sensitive. Like in the ice boss, I'm trying to rotate these darn mirrors and position them in the right angle, but the mirror spins out in a completely different direction. I think having a nunchuck attached would have helped out in this game a lot, as puzzles like this would have been easily handled with the analog stick, or rotating the Wiimote moves the objects to the left and the nunchuck moves the objects to the right. I've also had in some cases where the game did not respond with my inputs, and these were in some cases where I had to perform these moves or it was instant death. Unlike most pirates, Zack is unarmed, only having Wiki by his side. Wiki can transform into a bell and transform most enemies and objects into items. For example, Wiki can turn this snake into a dripper, which can grab this key dangling on the totem. There are many variations of enemies and objects that can be transformed, making for some fun puzzles. You can zoom out and pan around the stage, making it easy to plan your next moves, and keep an eye on where enemies will be moving. The game's scoring system is called the Harame Queue, which gives you points depending on how many attempts and how quickly you complete the puzzle. At the end of each stage, all the Harame Queues are added up all together, and then you are graded on how well you did on the stage. Your scores will be added up all together throughout the game, gaining Zack's pirate reputation as a sign of a wanted poster. The wanted posters become more detailed throughout the span of the game, which conveys the narrative pretty well. The game starts out easy enough, but soars high on difficulty pretty quickly as the start of World 2. Some stages are quite creative. For example, in the level The Tip of the Ice, a robot is guarding the treasure and will dust off any footprints in the snow, and Zack must lure it in a lake of ice. Zack can cover his tracks by staking a tree to drop a lump of snow onto the ground to avoid instant death. The game tells you can do this by having a dune getting covered in snow under a tree. A lot of stages are also incredibly long. That can take up over half an hour if you don't know what you're doing, or even die constantly, and unfortunately there isn't any checkpoints, or at least any that is free. While at the pirate hideout, you can purchase platinum tickets from the Oracle, using gold you found in the levels. But they don't come cheap. I'm alright when it comes to failing a specific part of the level, but repeating the whole stage just because of one part is completely unfair. This could have been easier handled if either all the stages were short or the addition of 3 checkpoints, but at the cost of lowering your rank. Being an early Wii game, the controls, while innovative, are the biggest obstacle when it comes to playing this game. It's a fun game, with some creative levels, but the lack of checkpoints would cripple most players' enjoyment for the game. I wouldn't recommend anyone picking this game up who have little patience or gets frustrated very easy, but people who love a good puzzle, this game is up your alley. I would love to see either a remake or another installment with some fresh controls, but with the sales it seems very unlikely. For anyone who wants to play this game, it's available on the Wii and the Wii U eShop. Thanks for watching this video, and I shall see you on the next adventure.